Hi, welcome to another edition of Shabbat Lounge. As always, I appreciate your time listening to the program. I appreciate any comments, likes, subscribes. If you will forward this to someone, share this with someone that needs to hear these words, I greatly appreciate it. So, after listening to it, pray about it. And you may know somebody that needs to hear these words today. I don't feel like I just do this for hot air and that I want to hear myself talk a lot. But I do feel like there's somebody out there that needs to hear something I've got to say. And if you feel you're in agreement with that, please share it with someone that needs to hear it. So today I'm going to continue my discussion that I started recently about fatherhood. Call this Fatherhood Part 2, if you will. What it means to be a good father. Well, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up basically without a father. So in the beginning of my life, my real dad, he and my mother did not see eye to eye, didn't work out. They were really young and both teenagers. And they split up, and I never really saw my dad again from the time I was 5 until the time I was about 16 years old. And I had virtually no contact with him. If I did, I only remember really one contact between the age of 5 and the age of 16. So let's just say there wasn't much of a relationship between myself and my real father. And my real dad, he wasn't always really good about holding down a steady job, about being a provider. He moved around a lot, didn't keep his job all the time. It just didn't work real hard. So just didn't provide very well for the family. And then, not only that, he didn't have much interest in keeping up with me. And I don't necessarily blame him. He didn't know what to do. He had a terrible father. His father, which would have been my grandfather, was the kind of guy that when he'd come home from work, when I was a small child, 3-4 years old, I'd cling to his leg and be like, "Grandpa," because I'd been around my other grandpa, who was a kind, gentle soul who loved children. And loved me very much. And he liked hugs from his grandchild. And he liked the interaction between himself and me. And wanted to encourage it. Well, my real grandfather, he discouraged it and he would shake me off, like a little annoying dog trying to pee on his leg. And, that was the difference. And so that same guy that shakes me off, I know it shakes me off, is the same guy that was my biological father. So, he had a terrible example that he didn't know how to be better, how to be different, I don't believe, there's that. And so, in my life, my mother bounced around several times between different men, different boyfriends. Sometimes she married these men. And sometimes we just lived with them for a period of time. So there was all kinds of interesting men in and out of my life. Most of them, they weren't necessarily per se evil people. Most of them were broken men who didn't have good fathers themselves, trying to figure out what to do. And in some respect, isn't that all of us? Aren't we all kind of broken? Very few of us come through life growing up without something that happens to us, either done that we do to ourselves or someone does to us, and we have to kind of put the pieces back together because we live in a fallen world and the enemy is going after us. Some of us, the enemy has been going after since we were small children. And that's me, the enemy was trying to set me up for failure. I, in all practical purposes, probably should have ended up walking in the footsteps from my grandfather to my father and being equally ridiculously of a bad dad. But thankfully, by the grace of the Father, that could be different for me. And so I need to tell you about a difference maker in my life. When I was young, we were living with my grandmother. By the way, you almost need a family tree to try to figure out what's what, and it's almost impossible unless you have a visual diagram here. But living with my maternal grandmother, and I'm riding the school bus every day, and getting on the school bus, there's this red-haired kid, kind of looked like Howdy Doody, with big ears, had glasses on, freckles, and he gets on the bus every day with his little dark-haired sister. And this bus was terrible. The absolute worst. They picked on everybody. They would thump your ears. They would call you names. You know, they wouldn't hardly let you sit down. They're like, you're not sitting with me. So, I mean, it was like dog eat dog. And so one day, I decided to let this young man and his sister sit with me, and because I felt sorry for them. They were a year younger than me, and I knew how to handle the kids on the bus a little bit, because not long before that, the kids were messing with me, and I turned around and spit a loogie across the school bus, hit them in the face, and they went, "Oh, that one fights back. That's no fun." So you know, after that, they left me alone a little bit because I didn't put up with it. So anyway, they sit with me, get to talking, come to find out we have like all the same likes. It's kind of like the line from Nacho Libre where he's like, "Oh, you like puppies? I like puppies too." You know, so it was kind of that kind of conversation. You know, we realized we like tractors, we like playing in the dirt, we liked farming. That's what we wanted to do. And so we instantly bonded. And so next thing you know, I had this little pony that I rode every day after school. And one Saturday, I saddle her up and I ride over there. You know, keep in mind, I'm 7 to 8 years old. And I ride this pony over to him. And first thing I do, I get off my horse, quote unquote horse, wearing my cowboy hat. I probably had spurs on. And I walk up to this gentleman. I'm like, where can I put my horse, sir? I came here to play with your son, and I need a place to put this horse while we play. And he said right off the bat, he was super impressed. I called him sir, mister. I was very respectful, very polite. And immediately he was like, somebody has worked with this kid. Somebody spent some time with him, taught him a few manners. You know, he's pretty impressive. And so, anyway, we get to playing in the dirt. We hit it off, and it's almost instant. We become best friends, and we spend every waking moment together, from second grade for me all the way until college. We spent quite a bit of time together. And then, of course, like everyone, when you get married, move away, have kids, you know, that time changes. But we became best friends, best mans at each other's wedding. You know, we were always close, and they're still close to this day, and enjoy spending time with each other. And you get us together. And, it's hard for us to go to sleep. We just get to talking, and, you know, we look up, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and we're like, oh, my gosh, we got to get up early in the morning and do something. So, anyway, it's a real blessing and a joy to have him in my life. And his dad really saw something special in me, and I had a desire to go to church. My great-grandparents had invested in me and put time into me, and that was my great-grandfather was the first man that took an interest in me, and he took me wherever he went. He went to dig ditches. Guess what? I went with him. I was in his hip pocket. I was on him like a fly in mess, as we might say in Texas. But everywhere he went, I was with him. It didn't matter. We went to the gas station. And I'm a talker. When I was a talker as a kid, and I talked to everybody. I waved to everybody. I was friendly. And everybody, I can still remember this today. I didn't get it as a kid, but today I get it. And I can remember, boy, they would just light up when they saw us. It was special. And they knew it was special. And I had no idea how special it was, for me spending time with my great-grandfather. I was like 7. Well, I was younger than that. But, I was pretty young. And I just went with him, and I worked with him, and I did what he did. And he taught me while we were out together working in the field. Kind of goes back to what I talked about last time about men, grandfathers, spend time with your boys. Spend time with your children. Spend time with your grandchildren. It will pay infinitely, especially if you find yourself as a grandparent, great-grandparent, whose own children or grandchildren are not walking and doing Bible things in Bible ways. Intervene in those children's lives. Be a part. Be the hero for those kids. You will never regret it. But if you don't, you quite possibly could regret it for the rest of your life. Do it. Make no excuse. Do it. Do it today. Don't delay. Anyway, so let me go back to my foster father. So he, became a father for me. They took me to church. They would drive 20 to 30 minutes out of their way twice a week to pick me up and take me to church. And, they spent a fortune in gas. And they would pick me up and, drive out of their way. And I would go to Wednesday church. Then I would also go to Sunday. And what Sunday would become is that we would, we'd go to church, class, all that. And then I would just end up going home with them. And I'd get to eat a giant meal with roast and mashed potatoes and green beans. That's my comfort food today, by the way. That's still one of my favorite things to eat. Probably because it has so many good memories for me. This home became my sanctuary. It became my place of normalcy. It taught me normal. I didn't know normal. All I knew was chaos and craziness. I had, ultimately parents that drank in excess, drove drunk, did drugs, sold drugs, had friends that did drugs. We hung around some bad people. And that was my daily life. And so to find my friend and to find my father figure can only be attributed to the Father putting these people in my life. I am not the guy that I am today if the Father had not intervened and put these men in my life. I thank the Father every single day of my life for giving me my great-grandfather, my foster brother, and my foster dad. I owe them a debt that I can never repay. But I'll tell you what, I can repay it. And here's how I repay it. I have done my best to become a good man a good father, and I'm breaking the cycle. That's how I repay them. And that's been my goal all along, is to break the cycle of addiction and bad parenting that I was taught, and to be different. And that's the quest I'm on. And so I say that to say, if you're listening to this, and there's a little boy down the road who maybe has a single mom, maybe a little guy in your life or a little girl in your life that just doesn't have parents that are taking care of them, pray about it. Listen to what the Father wants you to do. And especially if they're related to you, it's a no-brainer. You need to make it happen. You might be the only father, the only grandfather, the only male influence that they ever get. Or not necessarily male. It could be grandma, mother influence. We need both. And so listen to the Father on those things. And there may be someone that you need to do a better job of mentoring, taking under your wing, showing them how to do life. Because there are so many people out there, so many of the guys that work in our company, they're like this. They grew up without a father. They don't know how to be. They don't know how to talk respectfully to clients, to even the judge sometimes, or to their boss. No one taught them. Nobody taught them how to be a man, how to talk right, how to act right. And so there are people in your life that, you can probably do that for. And my life is a great testimony, not that there's anything amazing about me, or anything amazing about anything I've done, but what's amazing is the Father. And I can't give him enough credit for what he has done for me. He took a broken piece of pottery. I was broken. I was broken into tiny little shards as a boy. And this world had already broken me and chewed me out by the time I was about 6 or 7 years old. And I was mad at the world, mad at myself, mad at my mom. I was mad at my mom for a long time. Probably up until almost, she unfortunately took her own life when I was about 15 years old, and that's why I ended up living with this other family. But anyway, on paper, I should have turned out to be a wreck. I should just be a hot mess of a life. That's kind of, there's a lot of that in my family background, but there was also good in my family background, but so much of the craziness gets drowned out by, the craziness kind of drowns out all the good. But I challenge you, if you can make a difference in someone's life, you've got to do it. You've got to spend the time. You got to go pick them up. You got to go take them. And it wasn't just my foster dad and my foster brother. There were other people in my life that I knew, I knew a guy that had a little plane and a little airplane, and he'd catch me one day after school, and he'd take me up in his plane, and he spent time with me. He took me on group outings, and we did big camping events and hiking and backpacking, and he invested in me. He had 6 of his own children, and he was a great father, and he had a mission to do that for other boys, and so there's just a long list of guys in my life that came along at certain times that provided for me strong male leadership and showed me what it meant to be a man and to be a father. And I just encourage you to pray about it, to look for opportunities, because there's someone probably near you that needs your influence, and you can make such a difference in their life. And it's all about time. spending time. And we live in this world that is spinning rapidly out of control. And we are sucked into these devices and sucked into the media that sometimes we lose all track of time and reality, and we just do a terrible job of doing life. And so anyway, I challenge you to spend time with your kids, whether you be a man, woman, grandma, grandpa. Spend time with your children, your grandchildren. It is well worth it. So once again, thank you for listening to Shabbat Lounge. I ask you to like, to comment. Please share this to someone if this spoke to you, or you may be right now going, man, so-and-so needs to hear this. Send it to them. They don't know me, but I do pray that this will fall on the right person at the right time to help make a difference in a kid like me. You know, if it made a difference for me, it'll make a difference for someone else. And once again, it's nothing I've done. It's the Father. And I give all glory, all credit to the Father. But once again, thank you for listening to Shabbat Lounge.